Hey guys, today I wanted to do a video sharing how we kind of budget for some of our more long-term food prep items. Now, a lot of times people will hear the word prepping and they think that you're getting ready for the zombie apocalypse. And while I won't rule out the fact of that possibly happening at some point in the near future, what I think of when I come up with prepping is just layers of food and water and fuel that would get us through if we were to have an illness in the family and weren't able to get to the store. If something like the lockdowns were to happen again, if we were to have a job loss in our family, just because things are unpredictable. Even when things seem stable, there's always a certain level of unpredictability that is happening in the world. Now, in order to prep some of these things, a lot of the complaints that I hear, and even some of my own concerns, have been about budgeting. And when you are living on one income, which we do, then how do we go from kind of paycheck to paycheck, not only feeding our family, paying our bills, stuff like that, but then also adding in these extras? And so one of the ways that we do this every year is by doing a pantry clean out. If you are on Instagram and follow a few different homesteaders, you'll probably hear this referred to as a pantry challenge. I just do it as a clean out. And so I'm going to take you through kind of what our mentality is today. And then we are also going to go shopping as we add in some of these preps. So if this is something you're interested in and you just like information about easy homesteading, if you're interested in homeschooling or just kind of what we do here, please make sure you like this video and click the subscribe button, because we are working on coming out with information all the time to make things that seem a little bit scary a little bit more achievable for everyone. Okay, so what do I mean by a pantry clean out? All year long in the summer and fall, we garden. I'm canning things, I'm freezing things. We raise our own chickens. We store those. We just basically accumulate food all during the much warmer months of the year. And yes, in Georgia, typically it's warm pretty close to year round, but since we are on like our 5th or 6th day of temperatures that are in like the teens, it's not always the case. However, I decided this was a perfect day, since the temperature outside is the same as the temperature in my freezer, to show you how I'm going to organize my freezer. One of the things with doing a pantry clean out is you honestly need to know what you have, okay? I do my pantry clean out differently than a lot of other people. I do not allow ourselves to go to the store. What I do focus on is trying to create meals based on what we have. So for us, I know I have a lot of canned vegetables. I know I have some canned fruit options. I know I have a lot of meat in our freezer. And I know that I have some frozen vegetables and food options. I do not shop in preparation for this, because I do allow our family to shop throughout this challenge. So for example, we do not have a source of dairy. We don't have a cow, we don't have goats, anything like that. So during this time, I will allow us to buy cheese, milk, yogurt, cottage cheese, things like that. We also, because we are a little limited in our fruit supply, we also do buy some fresh fruit, but I try to keep that to a seasonal purchase. So for example, right now, if I'm purchasing fresh things from the store, it's stuff that I don't have canned. So it's things like oranges. We will buy some fresh vegetables like Brussels sprouts or lettuce, or things that I currently either am not growing or do not have stored. So I do allow us some leeway in that manner. And for our family, that seems to work better than saying, no, we aren't going to the store at all. We're just eating what we have. partially because my kids get bored with stuff. And I do too, if I'm being honest. I would get bored eating scrambled eggs every day for breakfast. We do incorporate our eggs into our meals. But I do try to still keep some variety in our food and rely on what we have at the same time as adding in some fresh things. What I do not purchase during this time is any frozen meat, any frozen vegetables, any more frozen fruit, or any canned items. I also try not to purchase any packaged items at this time, like granola or granola bars or snacky type foods, because I know that I have stored items to make these things. I have flour stored for bread. I have wheat berries stored to make flour. I have oats stored that I can make granola. And so this is a good time for me to clean out my pantry and really use the things that I've purchased instead of just continuing to purchase more on top of it or purchased prepackaged items that are going to use the same ingredients that I have, and really just continue to push the things that I've stored further back. And so that actually really doesn't save me money to do that. It really does save me money to use the things I've purchased. So I'm gonna show you guys my freezer. It is a little bit of a mess, but I do try to keep things organized. And I will tell you, on the door here, I have mostly jarred pesto. I have some frozen vegetables here. I have some peppers. These are from 2022. These will need to get used quickly. These are from 2023. Some freezer packs. Down at the bottom here, I have more frozen vegetables. And then kind of throughout, you can see things have just been shoved in there. I have chickens, some of our chickens that we raised and then processed. We're getting down on those. We're gonna order another round of meat birds here towards the end of February, I think. My husband got some deer this year. So unfortunately, when my husband and my son put things away in the freezer, they just kind of shove things in. They don't have an organizational plan for them. And that's hard for me as a type A personality. So we've got to fix that. We do get beef delivered every month from a subscription. So I do get beef that's kind of organized up top. But what I'm going to basically do is just kind of I'm going to take out all the deer meat first, and I'm going to reorganize things so that I can get them where I can see exactly what I have, so that as I continue to try to use some of this stuff up and make room for the harvest that's coming, I'm more organized about it and I can have a better plan of attack.
heat, sit tight, hold the seat, rise up and believe. No luck matter to me, high up, praise the beast, rise up, live for me, let loose with me, let loose with me, alright. You will see, oh you will see the light. Beat up, swallow the heat, sit tight, hold the seat, rise up and believe. No luck matter to me, high up, praise the beast, rise up, live for me, let loose with me, let loose with me, alright. You will see, oh you will see the light.
Okay, so it didn't take long. I did have to stop and go get some gloves because my hands were freezing. But you can see now everything is just much more easily visible. So I have our beef and stuff up here, different containers kind of housing whether I have steaks ground, like burger patties or fillets. I had some bacon. Those are some just prepared lunches that I did for Tracy for when he goes to work. If I don't have leftovers, I can just grab something quickly. That's just spaghetti. Then I have all of the remaining chickens here. Those are some bread cubes that I'm saving for stuffing. I only had 2 packs of cube steak left. So I put them up here because unfortunately they look a lot like the ground packaging. And so whenever you pull out meat and you want ground and you get cube steak, it's not always a good thing. And then in the back here, I do have like all of our tenderloins from the deer. Those are all stacked back there. So like when I work on getting ground meat out for dinner, I will pull from this side first so that I can just open that up easier. And then down here, I found that I had chicken wings. I didn't even remember that I had chicken wings in here. Pierogies, that is frozen food for the chickens. I save our beef heart and liver and grind it and make like meatballs of protein balls basically for our chickens. That's just a backup in case the food that we purchase for them is ever out of stock. I have some salmon patties, some shrimp. We get a ton of these cold packs with our beef delivery, and so I'm always just saving them because especially in the summertime, I'll use these in our chickens' water, and if they get too nasty, I don't feel bad. Like I can just throw them away. I had some ribs, didn't even remember that I had ribs, so apparently we're going to be smoking ribs at some point. And then down here, I have all of our vegetables, and it's just a mishmash. I have like some okra from 2022 that was buried. And so I'll make sure I use that the next time. I have some riced cauliflower, mostly a lot of jalapeno peppers. I have some squash. So these are just things that I'm going to focus on using in our meals before I add in anything else. I'm going to make sure that I am utilizing as much as I have in this freezer and in my canned stuff before I create a meal that requires me to purchase a lot of ingredients. All right, so we are at our local BJ's and we're gonna take you along. We're gonna stock up on some dry goods and things that we need to store. We are not purchasing any groceries today that would be eaten like right now. We have plenty of cheese and we get our milk from a farm. So things today are going to be things that would go into storage for us. And since I'm not spending money on a weekly grocery list like I normally would, this is how I can budget for adding in these type of long-term food storage items. I am just essentially swapping out the amount that I would spend on a weekly grocery list for these items instead. This really helps out with budgeting because I'm used to spending X amount of dollars each week for our groceries. Even though we do, try to grow a lot of our own stuff and raise some of our own meat, we still purchase groceries every week to every other week, kind of depending on what we have growing in the garden. And so for me, it's easier for me to think this way as far as, okay, I have this amount of money that I should be spending. It's already allotted in my monthly budget. So I'm just going to use those to purchase different items. So let's go inside.
Do you wanna dance? Do you wanna dance?
What I purchased, and these are things that I will be storing. Again, I traded out my grocery budget for this week in order to get these because I'm using things that I already have. So none of this will get opened at this time. In fact, some of this, like the pasta, I will actually even put in Mylar bags with an oxygen absorber. I make our pasta, I do a sourdough pasta and dry it out, and that allows us fresh pasta or close to fresh pasta whenever we want it. That pasta doesn't store like long-term in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber. It's just not 100% like long-term storage safe. So when it comes to long-term storage, I do look at pasta that has already been dried. It just, I don't know, it has like an extra level of guarantee, I guess, because I know 100% this is long-term shelf stable. But I will transfer it from the package it's in, put it in Mylar, put an oxygen absorber in it with it to know that it can stay for like 10 years. It's something crazy. Some of the other stuff I did buy today though was I did buy some sugar. These things that are already sealed, I will leave in their bags. I won't unseal them and repackage them. And that's one of the things like I like about these types of packages, because they are already like 100% sealed and protected, whereas a box of pasta is not, which is why that will get repackaged. I also bought lemon juice. We tend to go through a lot of lemon juice. Both Tracy and Logan love lemon juice in their water. But it's always just something good to have on hand if you need to make buttermilk or dressing. A homemade dressing is really simple with lemon juice. I also bought 1 container of Parmesan cheese since this is shelf stable. This will get stored. Honey, I go through honey like crazy. I use it in my coffee, and we use it in tea and baking and a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm always looking to have honey on hand. I did get coffee. Now, the only organic coffee that BJ sells is in a whole bean form, but I actually find that this stores really well. This I will store in the freezer. It does keep the oils from going rancid. And so I will just leave this in the whole bean form in my freezer for right now. And then when I need it, I will grind it with my blender. Works awesome. Olive oil is another great one. We go through quite a bit of this as well, and coconut oil too. Now I already have olive oil and coconut oil, and I also have some beef tallow and some lard that I am trying to use up. So these I'm going to purposefully put into storage, and I keep my long-term storage food separate from my kitchen cabinets so that I will not use these. So my personal rule will be I have to use up every source of fat, of cooking oil, before I'm allowed to get into these. And for me, keeping like things separate really helps me kind of organize that in my brain. Maple syrup, my kids love maple syrup. Sardines are, if you don't like sardines, then you could sub tuna fish for this, or even canned chicken would be fine. But having cans of this on hand is great because it's a protein that does not need heat. We would eat these just on crackers, but if you were in a situation where the electricity was out, you didn't have the option to cook, canned meat is really just a great thing. You can make chicken salad, you can do tuna salad. You know, there's a variety of things that you can do where you don't need heat to cook your protein. So always having at least a little bit of that on hand is helpful. We honestly just even like sardines on crackers for like a snack or whatever. So, but these will get packed into my long-term storage. Chocolate chips. One of the biggest mistakes that I have seen and I have learned from following other ladies who prep and places I've learned from is a lot of times people think that prepping is just like rice and beans and oatmeal. And while yes, you should have some shelf-stable things like that, you should also be stocking up on things that your family likes. Because if you are in a situation where you are having to rely solely on the food that you have in your house, you are going to need some joy in your life, okay? Let's just be honest. If you are to the point that you cannot go to the grocery store, sometimes a bag of chocolate chips is going to mean the difference between a joy-filled heart and grumpy mom. And honestly, that is something that has always just stuck with me. I mean, we love spaghetti, and yes, I have the things stored that we could make spaghetti, but spaghetti with Parmesan cheese is going to make my family a lot happier, and they're going to just feel like things are a little bit more normal. And essentially, when you're getting into prepping and when you're thinking about like long-term food, the goal is that you still enjoy your meals. Like, if we ate rice and beans every single day, I'll be honest with you, I would die not only out of boredom, but from the amount of gas that my family would produce from the beans. So yes, I do store some beans, but also that cannot be the staple that my family lives on day after day in an emergency situation, unless it is something that absolutely has to happen, because I want to live. And they would kill me with the farts. Like, we wouldn't survive. So when I think of long-term food storage, I'm also thinking of things that are going to bring joy into my life, like chocolate chips. BJ's carries this organic granola. And because it's an ancient grain granola, so it has amaranth and quinoa and different things in it besides just oats. So it's a little bit lower on the glycemic index. Sorry, couldn't think there for a minute. But this is something that I can make my own yogurt, but sometimes making granola it's a little bit of a hassle. So it is nice to have this as an emergency situation. Like I said earlier, this month and probably into next month, I will be making my own granola because I have oats that I have had stored. It's time for me to use them. So this again is gonna go into my long-term storage. It's not gonna go into my kitchen cabinet where I will be tempted to reach for it. And then because I had a little bit of money left in my grocery budget, I did go ahead and pick up a bag of chia seeds and a bag of pumpkin seeds. These are some of my favorite pumpkin seeds. This is the Go Raw brand. They are organic, but they also do not use canola oil to roast these. And so I love that because a lot of times you will find good healthy things that are like mixed in with trash stuff. And so it's always nice to find a product that is just 100% healthy. So these are just pumpkin seeds and salt, and that's it. So I'm really excited about these. But again, I have pumpkin seeds in my cabinet, and so these are gonna go into my storage. Oh, the last thing before I forget, the last thing is butter. Okay, so butter is not typically something that a lot of people think of as a storage option because it does require refrigeration. However, butter freezes beautifully, okay? So I make sure that when I am stocking up, if I ever, even if I'm just doing like a regular grocery run, if I ever have a little bit of extra room, I will always buy extra butter because it is one of the most versatile cooking fats, period. We do eat a lot of sourdough bread with butter in our house. We love to put some raw sugar on it and cinnamon and make like cinnamon toast in the broiler. But also because it freezes so well, it's just one of those items that if you ever find it on sale, like get it. Put it in your freezer. You don't have to worry about it. It stays there, it freezes, it thaws, it's awesome. Butter, I think, is probably the most underappreciated long-term storage option because butter even really can sit out at room temperature if it has to for a certain amount of time. And it doesn't go rancid like olive oil would or like an oil would. So butter is another, what I consider a long-term prep item. So I purchased 3 blocks of that as well. There's 6 sticks in a thing, so I have 18 sticks of butter. But this, again, I will be putting this in my outside freezer because I have other fats I need to use first. I have some butter in my refrigerator. Like I said, I have the tallow, I have the lard, I have some oil that's already open. So I want to make sure that I'm using all of that first before I get into anything new that I've purchased. Essentially, everything I purchased today is going to be off limits until everything in my kitchen is gone as far as like that specific like category of item. Okay, so talking about storage of these items that I bought. So anytime you are trying to store food, especially when you're looking at long-term storage, you don't want it to be in areas of your house that have like huge temperature jumps. So for example, my garage, my attic, while I have areas that I could store things in, those places are subject to the elements. They change temperature drastically depending on the weather. And so I really have to make sure that I'm storing things inside my house. Now, we do live in a small house. We have about a 1,600 square foot house. We are on a ranch and we're on a crawl space. So I don't have a basement or anything. So I've had to get pretty creative with where I store my long-term items. Also, our kids share a room. We do have some closet space, but it is kind of limited. And so a lot of my long-term storage items end up in some quirky places. One of the best places I have found, however, is under my bed. So I have a whole bunch of these type of containers that I got. I use them a lot when I was teaching, and I mean, just, they're storage containers in general, but they make such an easy place to store food. I can organize it by type of item. I can organize it by date purchased if I wanted to. They slide under the bed. And so I have about 1, 2, 3, I think I have 4 of these under my bed now. And then I will actually be adding some more. Let's see if I can kind of show you a little bit here. There we go, that's better. I'm actually going to be adding some more to put under the boys' bed. And what my plan is for today, since I'm on kind of an organizing mission, is these are the items that I have purchased a while ago. So I have some cans here. I do have sardines. I've got some cake mix in here. I have chocolate syrup. I have honey. I have a variety of items. And so these are items that were purchased a little while ago. Some of them even, I think like the cake mix I purchased last year. They were having a huge sale at Aldi's and everything was like, all the cake mix was like $1 or something. So I kind of stocked up on that. So these actually, because it's a little bit of a pain to get to under my bed, I'm going to move these and I'm going to go ahead and put all of these containers under my boys' bed because their beds are a lot easier to access. When I do that, that gives me the room under here to then put all of the items that I just purchased. I have another big container like this. That's where I'm going to put all of the items that I just purchased. Once I get them either Mylar bagged or just packed in however I need to, those are going to go under my bed. So again, one of the big things that I have learned with, working through things and not letting things expire and go out of date is that you want to have an organizational plan. Because if I just loaded all of that stuff into these containers, and made room, then I wouldn't be pulling from my oldest stuff. And that is how I keep things from going out of date and wasting money. So I know that the first thing I need to do is I need to get all of these containers under my boys' beds. And then once I do that and get all that food under here, I now know if I don't have it in my kitchen cabinet, the first place I need to pull from is then the containers under my boys' beds. And so for me, once those containers, these containers, they will be those containers, I guess. But once those containers are empty, then for me, it's time to start shopping again. When my freezer is cleaned out and I have no more options there, when my jars are empty that I have canned, and I don't have any options there, and then, when I have used up these dry storage items that I have been saving and those are empty, now it's time for me to start filling things back up. So that is where it is really helpful to organize these containers by item if possible. Right now, they're kind of a little mishmash for me. I will probably go through and reorganize them before I stick them under the boys' beds and make sure I have like all my sweet stuff in one thing, all my cans in another, all my pastas or rice-a-ronis or chips or whatever. Because yeah, I even stock up on chips. I even, save those kind of things. Because again, I want to have food in my house that my family is going to enjoy. And while I can make a lot of things, I'm not a great potato chip maker. And sometimes a bag of chips, it just makes your day. It's what you need. So that is another thing to think about as you are using things up. Organize them so that when you have a container that's empty, that whole container is basically, all pasta or all, this type of item. So you can start adding that in to your weekly grocery budget. And even though you may not restock it sort of in one fell swoop, you may not switch out your entire grocery budget one week and do a restock kind of like I did, but you can add 2 cans of a vegetable every time you go to the store until that container is restocked. Or you can add, 1 extra box of pasta each week until that is restocked. So if you can't do a restock like I did today, if that's not possible, if you don't have enough built up in your kitchen right now where you could just eat out of your pantry and use your grocery budget, then that's another way, budget-wise. If you buy 1 extra thing each time you go to the grocery store, generally you can still stay in your budget and you can start to build a long-term food storage supply. So thanks for coming along with me today. I hope this inspired you to kind of start going through your cabinets, going through your freezers, and see what do you have that you could use before you just go out and buy something else. It's definitely a great budgeting technique, even if you're not looking to start a food storage. But if you are looking to kind of do a little bit of low-key prepping and start a food storage option, then this is an easy way to swap out for your budgeting purposes, and also make sure that you are really getting the best bang for your buck with the food that you already have. We'll talk to you soon.